All right. This personally, I mean, even with the fact that the NFL playoffs are coming around, this is my favorite part of the show.
Yeah.
Me and Henny are gonna get into our five favorite NBA players of all time. And this is like really personal for me. I love basketball a lot, and it's honestly what got me into sports in general. So, really, really excited to talk about this. What do you got, Henny?
You want me to go first? Okay. So, number one, this was honestly a really tough pick. And I'll kind of go into a little bit why this was a tough pick for me. So, I'm a Timberwolves fan. And since I've been alive, and even before that, quite honestly, there hasn't been many, like, great players that, like, on the Timberwolves that I could, like, attach myself to and root for. You know, they've made, like, one playoff series since I started watching basketball. They've had, like, one winning season, and Kevin Garnett was kind of before my era.
I think he left in 2007.
Yeah. So my number one was the guy that kind of got me into basketball. And it's a popular pick, but I'm going with LeBron. I've told Joe this before that I don't know if I ever would have been interested in basketball like nearly as much as I am if it weren't for LeBron, because he was like the superstar, and I wanted to follow him wherever he went. I followed him when he went to the Heat, and I was still like, kind of a Timberwolves fan, but I just wanted to be a LeBron fan in reality. He felt like the guy to root for, and even when he became like the enemy of the league, I always wanted him to win. I don't know if I root for him as much anymore, especially since he went to the Lakers. But I just don't know if I would be nearly as into basketball if it weren't for LeBron. So, and obviously I don't have to speak on like how great he is, but yeah, that would be my number one pick. So
I'm gonna reverse it real quick, and I'm gonna start with my fifth. So my fifth is Pistol Pete Maravich, and a lot of it's dedicated to a coach that I had in 7th grade he coached me one game. That was it. One game. And his name was Coach Cunningham. And he was just some old dude from New York that just loved basketball. You could tell the dude came in with some of the people watching, I'm sure, probably remember Coach Cunningham. Dude came in a jumpsuit every day to practice. Just loved basketball, breathed basketball. He was a really, really good coach too. And he talked about Pistol Pete probably once a practice, and would tell the story about how his dad would basically tape like the passenger door, and they would get it so it would stay open.
Yeah.
And he would just drive, and Pistol Pete would dribble the ball outside while he was driving the car.
Yeah.
Just stories like that about how hard he worked, and obviously his dad pushed him really, really hard to be the player that he was, because he was a really great coach at LSU. But Pistol Pete, man, like, he was ahead of his time. If you throw Pistol Pete in the league today, like, you're looking at a Kyrie Irving-esque type of player.
Yeah.
And I know this sounds extreme for some small white dude from the 70s, but it just is what it is. His handle was ridiculous.
Yeah.
People don't get it. People do not get how good Pistol Pete was at basketball. He just didn't have any structure with the Hawks. There was no structure there. It was a terrible organization, and he basically got thrusted in to be the leader. And They had some good seasons, nothing spectacular. When he ended up going to Boston, and I don't know if he won a championship, but I believe he got close if he didn't. And that was kind of like where you could finally see what Pistol Pete would look like in an organization where there was some structure. And he was old at the time, so we didn't get to see his full potential, but man, what a guy to go back and watch. It's so fun, so crafty, just ahead of his time.
Yeah, a legend in the sense that there's just like so many stories about him, or so many. I've like seen a movie about Pistol Pete at some point in time. I don't remember what it was, but that's kind of where you learn the legend, is like when guys live on through stuff like that. But so we're going in reverse order here. I kind of feel bad for mentioning this number 2 before you, but I'm going with Kobe. And this is another story I've told Joe. My first real like basketball memory I had was when Kobe and the Lakers staged that comeback and beat the Celtics, and they came back from down like 14 or something like that, 13 or 14. When the Celtics had that monster team, and the Lakers ended up winning the finals. That was like the first real like basketball memory I ever had. And of course, anything about Kobe now is it's hard to talk about, but I think we all got a chance to like reflect on how much of a legend he was, and I never even knew how much I liked Kobe like when he was playing. It kind of hit me, about a year ago or so, and just like a true legend, somebody that he's gonna live on forever. So
absolutely. I have Larry Bird at my number 4. Larry Bird is somebody that a couple years ago, when I was at WSU, I got really, really into watching just like old sporting events. Mm-hmm. That was kind of what I would do. Like YouTube is an incredible thing. And I go on and I just type in these games. And I found a game, and I believe it was the '87 Eastern Conference Finals. I could definitely be wrong on that. And they're playing the Hawks. And him and Dominique both go for 40. And Larry Bird has like 20-something points in the fourth quarter. And he is making shots that don't make any sense. This dude runs under the basket. They bring a double. Mm-hmm. And he's basically falling down. He's like horizontal. Throws it up. Hits it off the backboard and spins it, and he gets the and one. And the stuff that Larry Bird would do doesn't make any sense. He is so underrated, and I know everybody has him in his top 10. Mm-hmm. And the top 10, but nobody understands how good he was. In the half court, he was as good of a passer as anybody that's ever existed. Yeah, I'll give you Magic is like on the fast break, he's a better passer. But in the half court, when you just have to create, I don't know that there's anybody as good as Larry Bird. I can't say that with confidence that there's anybody better than Larry Bird. He was ahead of his time as far as shooting goes. I mean, his shot form was kind of ugly, but it was so efficient, and it was the same every time he shot. If he was in the league now, attempting like 12 threes a game, 10, 12 threes a game, like it doesn't even make sense.
He'd be our pick for MVP, dude.
Yeah, like literally, Larry Bird is so good, and he was not athletic.
Yeah,
he was just not an athletic guy at all, and he was just able to make do with just pure skill and IQ in the game of basketball. Larry Joe Bird is one of the greatest ever. Go do your homework.
All right, so I'll go on to number 3, and I went with Shaq. I'm going with a lot of Lakers here, but anyways, Shaq's one of those guys. Everybody obviously, I think, realizes how great he was. I think everybody realizes that at the peak of their powers, he's like right up there with anybody.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people don't necessarily appreciate his play style because it's just like sheer dominance, like brute force. But for some reason, I will always just absolutely love like watching Shaq highlights, almost more than any other player. I don't really get tired of like the brute force, quite honestly. And now he's like such a fun personality too. I mean, I think it kind of wears on people, especially Charles Barkley, but Shaq is he's one of those guys I wish I could have seen more of. Like, I wish I could have been born in the era where I could have watched him, because it must have been crazy every night, like finding out what Shaq put up, especially in those finals where he would have like monster series and stuff like that. And it's not really the same like going back and looking back at those, even if it's crazy. He's just a guy I wish I could have seen like in real time. So,
yeah, Shaq was one I definitely thought about putting on my list. I haven't watched him enough to truly feel that way. My third is somebody that I don't think gets enough credit.
Definitely not. Yeah.
And it's Dennis Rodman. I love Dennis Rodman. And the thing that really caught my eye, I'm not sure how old I was, but I was watching TV and it brought up the interview after he won the Defensive Player of the Year when he was on the Pistons. And he's just bawling his eyes out. And he won Defensive Player of the Year. Like, you could just tell how much he cared. You could just tell. You knew it meant everything to him. And, like, anybody that's played basketball knows just the pest. Like, the player that is just a pest. That plays you super hard on defense. Is always diving for the loose balls. Constantly fouling you. Trying to get every rebound. Every time a shot goes up, he's throwing a body on you. Like, those are the players that are really, really hard to play against. Like, the guys that are really skilled and are casual about it, obviously they're really good at basketball. They do their thing. But the people, Dennis Rodman, those are the people you hate to play. Those are the people that you hate to play. And during the Last Dance documentary, when he's talking about how he like learned how to rebound.
Yeah.
And how he studied it. Oh, when Magic shoots it, it goes over and it usually clanks back. When Jordan misses it, he misses it short and it goes straight down. And he's talking about all this. Yeah. It's just ridiculous. You could tell how much he loved the game. And I love players that you can just tell love the game.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a weird dude. Like, talk about like how you just go party. You go party all night, but then he come into practice and he would just outrun everybody.
Yeah.
Because he cared so much. And even if off the court, maybe he wasn't as focused as he could have been. Maybe had he been that focused and everything, maybe he wouldn't have turned out the way it was.
Yeah.
I love me some Dennis Rodman, and just one of the people that doesn't get enough love when we look back at the game.
Yeah. Okay, so my number 4 here is, I had to go with the T-Wolf. And this isn't just like because I had to put a T-Wolf on there. I truly do love this player, and it's because he's been probably one of the 2 like truly great players since I've started watching the T-Wolves. Like Kevin Love, obviously was there too. But I've always been more attached to Karl-Anthony Towns, like, coming to the league, like, and he was just crazy good from day one. And it was finally like, even though the Timberwolves franchise is still a mess, we know that in one way there is some stability there. And I hope he's going to stay around for the long run. And, I don't think I would necessarily put him on here if he wasn't, if he was on any other team. But it's nice to be able to attach yourself to, like, a player from your franchise. Because I have a lot of guys on here that, like a lot of Lakers players and stuff. But it's different when it's, like, somebody on your own team, so.
All right. So my second favorite player of all time is Steph Curry. That's just an answer that, like, I feel like most people are gonna have. It's kind of boring, but that dude is just, it doesn't make any sense what he's able to do on the basketball court. Like, how great of a shooter he is. The amount of time you have to put into your craft to be that great at shooting. And a lot of people don't think about it, but shooting is like kind of similar. It's a weird comparison, but like kind of kicking field goals, where a lot of it's just mental.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just telling yourself that this shot is going in, and you're telling yourself that every single time you shoot. It is hard to be a great shooter over a long period of time, and to stay as consistent as he has, and to shoot as many threes as he does, and to stay over 40 for his career. It really doesn't make any sense. And the fact that they can run their offense the way they do because you have to guard Steph, you probably have to guard Steph within maybe 8-9 feet of the 3-point line.
Yeah.
Like, you really do. Like, you have to check him because that's the same shot to him as him being just at the 3-point line. Like, it's really not a difference. He just has to put a little more power into it. It doesn't make any sense. Like, even players like Dame right now, Trae Young, like, they can do it, but they don't do it the same way Steph does.
Yeah.
And Steph to me has the best handles in the league. I know it's debatable. I know a lot of people will go with Kyrie, but I think Kyrie's a little more flash, and it's a little more appealing to watch with how Kyrie does it than it is with Curry. But Curry uses his handles to just get buckets constantly. None of it's for flash. None of it's wasted movement. It's all with a purpose.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people don't focus on as far as handles go. It's like your handles, everything you do has to be done with a purpose. And Steph does that. And the way they're able to run their offense, where they just keep running. They just keep running over and over off the screens. It's the precedent he sets with his conditioning that everybody else kind of has to follow. And like, I was always like a secret Warriors fan because I was like super embarrassed. I was embarrassed. Like, everybody hated the Warriors so much that I was like, oh, I don't want to be that guy. But like, over recent years, I've kind of come to admit it. Like, I love the Warriors. I love the Warriors a lot, and I know it kind of makes me a bandwagon, but Steph is just that dude, and he is so fun to watch. And like, I just don't know that I don't know how we're gonna see a player again that's as polarizing as Steph is.
All right, to finish off my list, I went with Hakeem Olajuwon, and I also realized from this, I have a lot of Lakers and I have a lot of big men, and kind of the same. It's certainly a different style play between Shaq and Hakeem Olajuwon, but I love them for the same reason, in the sense that their highlights never will get boring. Like, never. And Hakeem had such a like unique way of playing the game that even a lot of guys if they try to copy what he did, it's not really the same. And it's again like Shaq, it's one of those guys you wish you could have been there for because he doesn't necessarily get as much appreciation as a lot of it's because of Jordan in that era. And a lot of guys in Jordan's era kind of got overshadowed. And I think Hakeem was probably the best of them. And, just one of the most fun players ever to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of even want to touch on Hakeem a little bit. Like, the Dream nickname.
Yeah, best nickname ever.
It's just...
maybe the best nickname ever.
It's ridiculous. And, like, the fact that guards will reach out to him to work on their footwork.
Yeah.
It's just insane. Like, the moves he put on, like what he did to Shaq in that finals, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I guess Shaq wasn't, like, Shaq yet.
Yeah.
But he put him in a blender.
Yeah.
Like, it was bad. Like, he won 2 finals. One of the finals he won, nobody on his team had ever been an all-star. He kind of put the team on... Like, he was able to kind of put the team on his back.
Hey, Kenny the Jet, man.
Yeah, man, Hakeem was so great. Yeah, he was somebody I did want to put on my list, but I had to throw Pistol Pete on there.
Yeah.
My number one, as I'm sure anybody that knows me that's watching this knows, it's Kobe. It's almost I almost like start to tear up every time I talk about Kobe because it's like now that he's passed away, it doesn't feel real at all. Like it doesn't it seems like he's supposed to be in the crowd at the next Laker game or something. Kobe's what started all this off for me. Like, as a little kid, I was like, I was gonna grow up to be some like country boy or whatever. And I remember my uncle, he moved to Spokane, and he started playing. He put on Lakers games, and he put on Sports Center. I was like, this is stupid, Uncle Rudy. I don't want to watch Sports Center. This is stupid. And the first sporting event I'd ever actually sat down and watched was the 2008 finals when they lost. But I could just see the will to win inside of him and how much it meant. You could just feel it. I think everybody talks about his work ethic. It's the Mamba mentality. You can just feel it. You can feel it even when they were losing. Even though they lost, like, you just knew, like, he was that guy. And he was what got me into sports. Like, I don't even know that I'm, like, a diehard 49er fan without Kobe. Like, I can't guarantee any of this stuff. He's the beginning of it all.
Yeah.
Man, he just got such a special place in my heart. I cannot believe he's gone. I remember, like, the day he passed away, I just, like, went and hooped for, like, 5 hours. So I was like, this is like the only thing I'm supposed to do today. He is just everything. How hard he worked, like, how patented down every one of his moves got, how perfect it got, his work ethic, like, all these stories of just how hard the guy worked. Like, it's hard to be great. It's hard to be great, and not a lot of people want it, but he wanted it every single day. And I think so many people felt that, like, when he passed away, it was crazy to see the outpour of emotion and just how much he meant to everybody, because it was really cool to kind of see, like, everybody else kind of feels the same way I do about Kobe. Yeah, he's just my favorite. He's just my favorite athlete of all time. Nobody really even comes that close. Like, Kobe's everything to me. And that's both of our 5 favorite players of all time. This was a really cool segment for us to do. Really glad we did it.
Yeah,
it's good segment for the first show for sure.
Yeah, glad we got to wrap it up with Kobe, especially your perspective on it. So, all right.